Think back to the last time you scrolled through your social media feed and saw a gray warning label slapped over a post. It usually will say something like missing context, partially false, or independent fact checkers say this information is misleading. When you see that, you're supposed to feel a sense of psychological conditioning. You're supposed to think, oh, the experts have spoken. I guess I shouldn't look at that or share it. But if you look under the hood of these so-called independent arbiters of truth, you realize very quickly that you aren't looking at a public service. You're looking at a digital enforcement squad. We're living under the boot of what I call the Censorship Industrial Complex. This is a highly coordinated multi-billion-dollar alliance between federal intelligence agencies, elite university research labs, and Silicon Valley tech monopolies. They've outsourced the suppression of political dissent to a network of partisan activist groups who hide behind the label of fact checkers. They aren't interested in separating fact from fiction. They're interested in separating you from your ability to criticize the government, question the narrative, or speak the truth. Let's look at the actual architecture of these fact-checking organizations. The media loves to use them as a shield. When a legacy news anchor wants to debunk a story about the border crisis or a traditional family values story, they don't do the reporting themselves. They just quote an independent fact checker to shut down the conversation. But who is funding the fact checkers? When you follow the money trail, the illusion of independence completely evaporates. These groups are funded by the exact same left-wing billionaire foundations, globalist NGOs, and government grants that fund the rest of the progressive apparatus. They're staffed by the same legacy media rejects who view journalism not as a search for truth, but as a mechanism for narrative control. They've built a brilliant racket. They write articles using intentionally narrow definitions or pedantic semantic arguments to label a broad, uncomfortable truth as false. If I state that the open border is destroying local municipal budgets, they will find one specific tiny town where the budget didn't change and declare the entire claim mostly false. Then they feed that rating directly into the algorithms of Meta, Google, and TikTok. It's a laundering system for censorship. The government is constitutionally banned from shutting down your speech directly under the First Amendment. So they use the protest industrial complex and their outsourced fact checkers to do the dirty work for them. They strangle your reach, shadow ban your account, and demonetize independent media, all while claiming their hands are clean. The ultimate danger of this censorship grid isn't just that conservative voices get silenced. It's that the concept of truth itself is being monopolized by the state. Think about the issues they target most aggressively. They don't spend their time fact-checking the radical claims coming out of gender ideology clinics or the absurd economic promises of the green energy cartels. No, they target the foundational pillars of common sense. They target the father who points out that graphic books are being placed in his child's school library. They target the independent reporter exposing federal overreach at the EPA. They target anyone who points out the direct connection between soft-on-crime policies and the lawlessness on our streets. I'm watching a deliberate attempt to create an artificial consensus. They want to make you feel isolated. They want you to believe that you are the only one who sees the decay, the only one who thinks the nuclear family matters, the only one who still believes in the Constitution. When they label your common sense as misinformation, they're trying to shame you into passivity. They want a society where the citizen stops trusting his own eyes, stops trusting his moral compass, and starts waiting for a digital permission slip from a panel of DC bureaucrats before he speaks out loud. But that is where they miscalculated. The American people are smart enough to look past the gray labels. We see the strings being pulled. We know exactly who's writing the checks, and we're completely done pretending that these partisan gatekeepers have any authority over our speech. The censorship industrial complex is fracturing because the truth is too big to be contained by a Silicon Valley algorithm. The fact checkers haven't saved democracy. They have completely exposed themselves as the propaganda arm of a panicked establishment. Don't let their warning labels intimidate you into silence. Trust your intuition. Look at the raw data yourself and continue to lead your family with clarity and conviction. The moment we stop policing our own words to please their narrative managers is the moment their entire system of control falls apart. Stand firm, speak the truth without fear, and never let a bureaucrat tell you what you're allowed to believe. Stand with me, support the mission, refuse the silence, and I'll see you next time.